Now 2020 has been a very busy year, and of late, Apple has released the iPhone 12, and with that series comes new TruePlay potential. Now because it's a new form factor, it has the squared off edges, so maybe this does TruePlay better than the previous iPhone X or iPhone 11. Hey, how are you guys doing? It has been a while since I appeared on video and I've taken leave because of some health issue, but now I'm kind of back and it's good to see you guys. Now before we go further, I'd like to let you know the last time I did a TruePlay, we found out that the iPhone 6, which I have here, is probably the best phone to do TruePlay. Does that still hold true today? Let's find out. So as usual, in my videos, I try to give you the answer up front. So if you don't have time to stay around for the whole video, you can take the answer, you can take the summary, and you can go with the answer. Don't have to stay throughout the whole video. Now, the answer today is the iPhone 12 mini is the best iPhone of 2020 to do TruePlay for Sonos products. I tested this with the Sonos Arc that I have. I'll go in about the methodology in a bit if you stay around. Now, the next best phone to perform this test is actually the iPhone SE 2, and that was released earlier half of this year in 2020 as well. So how I did that was I did some measurements. I did TruePlay using all the phones that I have, ranging from the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 7 to the SE 2 to the mini to the 11 to the 12 Pro. And when I did all these testings, I actually ran frequency response curve sweeps of these results coming out from the Sonos Arc so that you can see for yourself the difference that a difference in the phone makes for TruePlay. Okay, and if you're still around, then let me go a little bit into TruePlay and what TruePlay is. TruePlay is a type of room correction software. Now what it does is that it tries to get a Sonos speaker to sound like how the Sonos sound engineers think it should sound like in their opinion. Now, because sound is interactive, sound interacts between your speaker, which is quite consistent how they should sound like from one speaker to the next, as long as they are the same model. Now, the difference is it gets deployed in different rooms, it gets deployed in different places. Some of us are putting it in the kitchen, some are putting it in the bathroom, some are putting it in the bedside, some are tucked away in shelves, some are tucked away in corners like this, where there's enclosed space. So the different places where if Sonos speaker is being deployed will actually change how it sounds. So TruePlay, what it does, it plays some sound through the speaker. It gets a standardized microphone in an iPhone to measure the sound. If it sounds different from what the Sonos engineers think it should sound like, they then adjust it using a series of parametric equalization. Now there are 16 of such filters here. This is all software based. There is no hardware EQ inside this. It's a pretty nifty trick, but the technicalities of it, I'll go through in another day, not today. I'll tell you what I test with. So I tested with the Sonos Arc. The Sonos Arc is right in front of the room. Now, for this particular round of TruePlay, what I did was I made sure that I didn't move the mic. I did all the tests using all the different phone models. I ran through 6 different models, all in one sitting. Nobody was moving around the room. The curtains weren't moved. Everything was stopped where they are, right? Even my waving, right? I didn't walk around the room much. I just made very large swings and standing where I am. So this is not the most ideal, but it standardizes the range of movement so that it doesn't contribute so much to the variables that will change the profile of a TruePlay. So what we're trying to do today is just to isolate all the changes, all the differences to different phone models. And the mic is also set where I'm standing and doing TruePlay. So for the Sonos Arc, there are 2 steps to the TruePlay. The first is you just point it straight up, and the second is you're supposed to walk around the room. So I did it all standing in one standard location, and the mic is there. This is so-called the main listening position. So I didn't move much. It wouldn't have covered the whole room, but what you will get today is the relative difference between the phone models, not so much the differences that are being brought about by other variables that we don't usually control, like where you walk, where you point the phone, how you point the phone, how near you get to the speaker, how far away from the room parameters or the boundaries you stay. So today, what we're trying to do is to standardize it. Now, this curve that, let me do the recording. The recording is going to be done here. I'm going to throw the screen right up here. Okay, and this cursor is big enough for you to see, I guess. Okay, so this is the frequency response. I measured it using REW software that you're looking at here. It is attached to a relatively expensive uMic 1, which is a USB mic, professional quality, and it records the sound that is hearing when you play a frequency sweep from the MacBook that I have here into the Sonos Arc, and it measures that output. Ideally, this whole curve, because when it plays back the sound at all frequencies throughout the frequency sweep, it aims to play them at one single volume, one single amplitude. So by right, you're supposed to see one straight line. And that means that the room and the speaker are working well enough together to produce sound like it should sound, which means to say a flat frequency response curve. So whatever you hear coming from the speaker interacting with your room later, it's all going to be pretty flat and as though it is as what the recording artist intended. That is the aim of what we try to do here. But what you can see here, it is obviously not the case. And no speaker will give a flat response curve. You think about it, from Bose and Wilkins to any of the Mess, Denon or Yamaha speakers or Polk Audio, SVS, none of these speakers will have a standardized flat response. Because if you have that, then the speakers are all not going to sound different. They're all going to sound the same, right? But B&W may emphasize bass, and so at the bass part, you'll get a more hump. Some of them will have more extended treble, and you'll get a flatter line and goes on for longer beyond 20 kilohertz. So no speakers are going to look the same. None of them are going to be flat. And even if they are close to flat, the moment you put them in your room starts wreaking havoc. The sound will bounce here, that corner, this corner, the windows are there, the glass, the wall is too hard, the floorboard is too hard, it's not carpeted, the ceiling is too high. Plenty of reasons that will cause all these problems, and this is exactly what you are looking at here. This is the stock chart from a Sonos Arc without TruePlay. Everything is stock. So you can take it as it has been reset and taken out of the box, stock condition. When you play the frequency sweep, when it should play a flat line, it comes out with this. So there are a couple of problems that you see here. First, this is about the 50 Hertz range. At this 50 Hertz range, it is relatively pronounced. I would say that the average volume should be somewhere around here, I would say, if you look at it. So this is a nasty peak, but it may not be that bad a peak. It means that the bass response is there, and that might be what Sonos wants to emphasize, which is the bass response. And over here in the vocal range, probably about male vocal range, about 200 to 300 Hertz, reaching into 320, 350, you will see that there's a bump there and a deep valley from there right down to 600 Hertz, which is the upper end of the female vocal range. This particular bump at 1 kilohertz, big, huge, high, very nasty. I don't think it's going to sound pleasant. Today, I'm not going to talk about how the music sounds with all these. I'm just trying to explain to you the differences, what TruePlay does to the frequency response, so that you can judge for yourself, and that might explain what you're hearing. I don't know your room. This room is not yours, so the difference might be very big between your room and mine. But what you can get today is the difference between what the different phones do to TruePlay. So the first thing we're going to try to see today is whether TruePlay can correct some of these problems. Maybe this dip here, this valley here, this peak here. So let's pull out a phone. This is iPhone 6. So a while ago, I did a video on TruePlay, and I figured that iPhone 6 is probably the best phone that you can get a relatively flat response without the nasty treble extension that the iPhone 10s or the 11s even were giving. And this was somewhere in the month of maybe May or June. That's about half a year ago, right? I pull up this curve here. This red curve, dark red curve, is for the iPhone 6. And I was so surprised when I saw this. Look at the entire range. Basically, it's just pulling everything down by a couple of dBs. I got surprised and it made me do the test another time with the same results. So I don't know what's happening. This iPhone 6 is really old already, all right? So the mic might be clogged up, the holes might be clogged up with lint or something from the pocket. I'm really not very sure. This phone was from 2014. Next year it's going to be 7 years old. I am not very sure whether that affects anything, but the truth of the matter is it pulls everything down. So while I was recommending it before, I don't think I can recommend the iPhone 6 this time round. They must have made a lot of sound changes to the Sonos Arc, where previously it was working well for TruePlay using the iPhone 6, but now the iPhone 6 simply does nothing. It just pulls everything down from the Sonos Arc in stock configuration. And what is worse is that if you look at the treble extension, it does that strange pickup at about 14, 15 kilohertz. And I have no idea why they do that. It happens here. It used to happen with the iPhone 11. Why the iPhone 6 started doing it, I have no idea. In any case, from the way this looks, if TruePlay all it's doing using the iPhone 6 is to pull everything down, then I guess you might as well not use TruePlay if you're using on an iPhone 6. I am testing this on a Sonos Arc. Your result may vary depending on the speaker you're testing it with. And again, this is my room. This is my phone. This is my method of testing. Your experience might be completely different. If it changes and if it's different from mine, do share a note in the comment section below and let all of us know whether you're still using the iPhone 6 and whether it's still working well for you. And then the iPhone 7, which actually belongs to my son. I don't have it with me right now, but I did it with iPhone 7 and I will superimpose the iPhone 7 is in green here. Now, this is a different curve. In the last video, I said iPhone 7 not so much recommended because it does that pesky extension here, which I didn't like. But from the way it looks now, if you're choosing between the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 7, the iPhone 7 is actually doing a lot better, right? So it does emphasize the bass a lot more, especially in the 90-100 Hertz range, the mid bass and the upper bass territory. So if you like that kind of bass boost, then maybe this guy, the iPhone 7, when it TruePlays for you, it will do a better job. But bear in mind, if you look at the green curve, it is going to be one heck of an emphasized bass bump for your Sonos Arc when you TruePlay it with the iPhone 7. Much more than iPhone 6 anyway. Now, this valley here, again, like the iPhone 6, it pulls the original valley down even more. Again, why? I have no idea at all. Why would they pull that down? It could be an inherent problem in the room setup that I have itself. So, but while, it could have left it alone, it did something and it plunged it down even further. But what it did was actually, it did smooth out this particular peak here a lot more. So you don't get this nasty 1 kilohertz peak anymore. It put it down by at least 3 dB here, right? So that overall, you're looking at a slightly flatter response from about 1 kilohertz onwards, okay, as opposed to the gray line. So while I wasn't recommending the 7 and I was recommending the 6 previous round, in its current form as of Sonos S2 platform 12.2.2, the sound tuning for the Sonos Arc actually fits the iPhone 7 a little bit better. So the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 7 were from 2014 and 2016 itself. So it's been quite a while. Let's look a little bit more at some of the newer phones. Let me clear these two away. So the next couple of phones I'm going to talk about are those that were launched last year, 21.9, and this year in 2020. Now the one from the previous year, which I did the test in June, is the iPhone 11. So the iPhone 11 in this bright red line that you have here. Now, it doesn't do that funky uptick at the higher frequency band anymore, which is great because previously when it used to do that, it made the Sonos Arc sound even more harsh than it was supposed to be. Now, the thing is, I don't remember the Sonos Arc in its original form. Look at the gray curve, tailing off and rolling off from 8 plus kilohertz onwards. It did not used to roll off so early. It rolled off at about 9 or 10 kilohertz. But now, 8 kilohertz, actually, 8 kilohertz, it has started rolling off, which is maybe their effort in trying to curb the tinniness and the high shrill sound of the Sonos Arc, which people were complaining about. So when you apply the iPhone 11 TruePlay, in this particular case, to the Sonos Arc at 12.2.2 version, then this is what you're going to get. It has pulled down the peak at the 50 Hz range, 60 Hz range, which is not too bad. It evens it out a little bit, but it's sort of moved that bump up a little bit more to the 90, 100 Hz. So you're going to get more of a presence. You'll hear that it is probably sounding a little bit louder in the bass because, bass at 90 Hz, 100 Hz is going to sound louder at the same so-called amplitude than a lower frequency curve, which you will feel more rather than hear. So all the way up to 200, 250 Hz, it would have put up the response a little bit more. And then from 250 Hz all the way up to about 1 plus kilohertz, it would have put down a little bit. Still, again, this valley. So I'm beginning to suspect that this valley is actually caused by a room mode and basically where I was standing when I was doing the test and doing the measurement. So maybe TruePlay can't correct that. Again, no reason to make it worse, but well, this is what you get. For the iPhone 11, it has also managed to correct this high peak here. So the frequency range from about 1 kilohertz onwards, now this looks quite flat as opposed to the previous TruePlay models we were looking at. And there's a slight extension to the treble beyond 10 kilohertz. Not a lot, the roll-off is still quite sharp, but a little bit of an extension. So overall, iPhone 11 is actually performing pretty well in its current version for TruePlay on the Sonos Arc. Now what is very interesting and a lot of people were asking is, when you ask about the iPhone 10, iPhone 11, it has changed its form factor. There's no more home button. There's a lot less space for the mic. The phones are overall bigger. And people are saying that, hey, maybe the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 7 TruePlay tuning actually sounds better. Why is that so? Maybe because it's not stereo mic. I don't know the real reason, and Sonos doesn't share these kind of things, but the suspicion is that the smaller, the older phones are actually performing better in terms of TruePlay in tuning the Sonos Arc than the newer iPhone 10s or the iPhone 11. So when the iPhone SE2 was launched in the earlier part of 2020, everybody started asking the SE2 is basically a turbocharged version of the iPhone 6, 7, 8, right? With a very new chip, and it's very, very fast. I got my hands on that phone, but oh gosh, Sonos didn't support TruePlay on that phone until I think for the first half a year of its life. But today, I've done TruePlay on the SE2, and let's take a look at that, how it compares to the iPhone 11. This purple line here, blue or purple, whatever. Okay. So it does pull down a little bit below 70 Hz, but not as much as the iPhone 11. And it also bumps up the 90, 100 Hz more than iPhone 11. And it starts switching positions with the iPhone 11 throughout, all the way up to about 400 Hz. Now, it gives a peak at 200 odd Hz. And it gives another new peak at 90 Hz. How it sounds to you, I'm not sure, but this would mean that a lot of bass frequencies and a lot of the male vocals, they are quite in your face, that they will sound louder than if it was being tuned by the iPhone 11 or in stock form for the Sonos Arc. It has also pulled down the frequency range in this dip, not as much as the iPhone 11, so that's a good thing. So far, right up to 600, 700 Hz, the TruePlay profile from the SE2 actually looks better than the iPhone 11. And I jump off to about 1 odd kilohertz. So from this part, 1 odd kilohertz, all the way up to 6, 7 kilohertz, you are looking at the SE2 pulling up the range from the iPhone 11. In fact, it is also covering up this valley from the stock tuning. So in a way, if you look at the blue curve, it should look a little bit flatter. I know it's hard. I've emphasized all the frequency sweep so that you can see it clearer. You can't see it as flat, but it is a little bit flatter than the TruePlay that is being tuned by the iPhone 11. But at the higher end, beyond 10 kilohertz, it doesn't offer much of a boost or extension over the iPhone 11. iPhone 11 is still going to do better in the treble department than the iPhone SE 2. After the iPhone SE 2, which was launched half a year ago, we then come to the iPhone 12. So I have two iPhone 12 here. Okay, this is the iPhone 12 Pro, which was launched first, I think about 3 weeks before the iPhone 12 mini was launched. The Pro is well, they say it's a better phone. It is much bigger, the screen, essentially it's the same screen, it's just that it's a different size. It has 3 cameras, this is 2 cameras, this is a lot more compact. I'm using the mini a lot more these days because it is just so much easier to move around and to carry around, slide it in the pocket. So am I missing the extra lens here? No, not on a daily basis. If I still need the camera, I'll take this. No, hell, if I need the camera, I'll use my camera. But what is of interest today, which I was thinking about this. What if the problem with the newer iPhones messing up TruePlay was a function of the size of the phone, right? Because now they're getting bigger, the mics are getting, I don't know, repositioned, there's more cavity, more space inside. I know it's going to be filled up with more batteries and logic board, but what if the iPhone 6 and the 7 were doing well and the SE2 was doing well because of the compact size? Then what is the mini going to do? Now, earlier upfront in the video, I've already shared with you that the iPhone 12 mini is the best performing phone when it comes to Sonos TruePlay, well, at least for the Sonos Arc. And here, I will tell you exactly why I think so. So I'm going to remove the curves for the previous phones, and I'll pull up the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 mini. Let's look at the iPhone 12 Pro first. This is a weird result. Look at this. I did this 3 times. I hope I didn't do anything wrong. It doesn't look right at all. So all the iPhone 12 Pro has been doing for TruePlay is to bring down the whole frequency range. This is like the iPhone 6. So I can say I was giving an excuse. The iPhone 6 was having problems because maybe the phone is old and the lens got caught up and dust is blocking up the microphone holes. But this phone is 2 months old. How old is that? So I did TruePlay 3 times, and all 3 times it gave the same result. Basically, it was just to lower the whole frequency response range throughout the whole frequency sweep. It does that stupid little uptick at the 12, 13 kilohertz range, but otherwise, if you do TruePlay using the iPhone 12 on the Sonos Arc, as of today, how it looks like is, it's just going to make the sound a lot softer. It doesn't change the shape at all. You still have nasty dips and peaks, which mirrors this guy. Maybe the peak here at 1 kilohertz is not that high, but it's introduced another valley here. And why? I have no idea. From the look of itself, it doesn't even look flat. So guys, do me a favor. If you are using an iPhone 12 Pro, do the test, or even the iPhone 12, which is the same size as this essentially. Do you get this problem that after TruePlay, your Sonos Arc is sounding a lot softer, a lot more subdued, especially in this range, which is the human vocal range? Do you get that? If you do, share down in the comments section below. Let us know. Now, to the star of the show, iPhone 12 mini. Is this the best phone I've used? No, it is a little bit too small. My eyes aren't what it used to be. So when I look at this phone, it's a little bit tougher on my eyes. But that's why I keep the iPad 12.9 inch lying around so that I can browse on it if I want to. But you know, or use this slightly bigger phone at 6.1 inch. I don't know, but 5.4 inch is very pocketable. But otherwise, no real love for the functionality of the phone until I did this TruePlay. Now I'm going to load up the curve. This is the part that I've been holding out on. This light green curve here. I hope you can see this. Let me change the color, make it a little bit easier for you to see that. Okay. It got rid of this peak here. It's redistributed the bass. It's a little bit more even. There's a slight peak here, but overall, from this range here to here, it looks a little bit smoother. It doesn't correct the valley, but doesn't drop it as much. And if you look at this nasty peak here, it's been completely smoothened out. This peak here, smoothened out too. This dip here, pulled up a little bit. So if you look at from this 800 Hertz all the way up, it is a flat response. Well, not flat, flatter response than the Sonos Arc in its original configuration and tuning. And much better than the iPhone 12 Pro, which I still can't understand why it did this. And if you look at the higher frequency, the extension is significant. It has the highest extension. Let me load all the curves back in. Okay, and you see for yourself. Right? It has the highest extension by far. This is the iPhone 12 mini now highlighted. It has the highest extension into the higher frequency, and the drop off, the roll off is not so sharp. It is a lot more gradual, a lot smoother. So this will provide for a much smoother listening experience on the Sonos Arc if you tune it with the iPhone 12 mini that I have here. Now you might be asking, this mess here, right? I load up all the spaghetti noodles at once, and you'll be thinking like, well, there are some variables inside this. You can't be very sure how you do the TruePlay, that you're replicating it the same way. You can't be very sure when you're measuring using the mic, using the setup, using REW, it's going to be measuring the same thing. But let me assure you, I spent a lot of time on this test. A lot of time, okay? And if you look at the charts here, all these charts are actually averages of at least 5 readings, right? So I take the average of 5 readings and I combine it into one curve, 5 readings for each phone. And then I smooth it out so it takes away all the jaggedness, and you can then see it clearer for yourself. So all in all, what I'm recommending is that, okay, I'll just pull up the SE2 and the iPhone 12 mini. These two are my recommended phones for doing TruePlay in the year 2020 for the Sonos Arc, at least for version S2 12.2.2. I hope you have found today's video very interesting, and I hope that you have found it useful and it has brought value to your experience of ownership for the Sonos sound systems. I use the Sonos Arc for testing, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't apply. The logic will still apply. I tried to minimize the variables. I can't test with all the combinations. I have almost all the Sonos speakers I have here in my house. I won't be doing it for all the speakers. I'm just using the Arc because the Arc is probably one of the hottest Sonos item available on the market today, and I know a lot of you are interested in the Arc. I was contemplating whether to do it on the Beam or not, but the Beam is a much more stable product and the changes wouldn't be that phenomenal. I may not be able to bring out the differences that well because the Sonos Arc, after all, is a very new piece of hardware. 11 speaker channels, 11 amps, Atmos capable. It is the product from Sonos of the year 2020. Now 2020 is coming to a close and the year 2021 is just round the corner. I've started doing this channel, doing wireless audio products just a couple of months ago. Well, actually the journey has been a good 6, 7, 8 months actually. And thanks to you, the channel is growing slowly but surely. I am just looking at my subscribers and I'm just wondering whether I can hit 10,000 subscribers by end of the year. If not, worst come to worst, I'll start off the new year with 10,000 subscribers. Now, thank you for all your support all this time. Thank you for showing your love. Thank you for showing your appreciation. I hope to have another good year ahead. I wish everybody well. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Before the year end, I'll come in with another video. If these kind of things are your thing, then consider subscribing, consider liking this video, sharing the video. It will help the channel grow and it will help me put in more effort and time into this channel. And if any of my videos have helped you in any way, here I'm loading up a QR code. Now, if you scan the QR code using a phone, it will take you to my Patreon account. In my Patreon account, you'll be able to make a small contribution to my coffee fund. If you can't scan this, I'll link it down in the video description down below. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video.